The 1950s was a magical, high-stakes era for British car manufacturers. Post-war factories were humming at full capacity, global export markets were begging for British metal, and designers were pushing technological boundaries like never before. Across the nation, engineers crafted machines that dominated racetracks, shattered land speed records, and defined silver screen glamour. For a fleeting moment, British automotive design sat at the absolute top of the world. However, true perfection is notoriously difficult to replicate. Many of these legendary models represented a precise alignment of genius, mechanical purity, and perfect timing that their parent companies would spend the next several decades desperately trying to recapture. Subsequent models were often heavier, overcomplicated by corporate committees, or bogged down by shifting safety regulations. Today, we are taking a deep dive into 10 iconic 1950s British cars that reached an absolute peak of automotive brilliance and never quite touched those heights again. Number 10. Armstrong Siddeley Sapphire 346. Our countdown begins with an executive luxury car that felt less like a standard automobile and more like an A-plane built for the highway. When Armstrong Siddeley rolled out the Sapphire 346 in 1952, they drew directly from a legendary aerospace heritage. While traditional luxury automakers were still using basic, low-tech iron engines, Armstrong Siddeley dropped a sophisticated 3.4-liter straight-six under the long, stately hood featuring hemispherical combustion chambers derived from aircraft engineering. The car was an absolute masterclass in quiet, high-speed travel. To make the driving experience as effortless as possible for wealthy doctors, company directors, and government officials, buyers could equip the Sapphire with a specialized, electrically operated pre-selected gearbox. Instead of wrestling with a heavy manual clutch, you simply selected your next gear via a tiny lever on the steering column before tapping the floor pedal. Inside, the cabin was insulated like a luxury vault, drowned in fine leather and finished with hand-polished walnut trim. The tragedy of the Sapphire 346 was that it proved to be a singular, majestic peak for the brand's automotive division. As the decade progressed, the company's corporate board increasingly prioritized high-margin military jet engine contracts over passenger vehicles. Car production slowed to a crawl, and by 1960, the Armstrong Siddeley badge disappeared from the motoring world forever. The Sapphire 346 stand today as the absolute high watermark of a grand luxury brand that vanished into thin air. Number 9. Bristol 401. If you wanted a grand tourer engineered with absolute aeronautical precision in the late 1940s and early 1950s, you bought a Bristol 401. Born out of the Bristol Aeroplane Company, this small-volume manufacturer possessed access to state-of-the-art wind tunnels that traditional car builders could only dream of using. The 401's hand-formed aluminum body wasn't just shaped to look elegant. It was an aerodynamic masterpiece designed to slice through the air with microscopic drag. Underneath that slippery, aircraft-inspired skin sat a high-revving 2.0-liter straight-six engine based on pre-war BMW engineering. While it wasn't the largest motor on the market, the car's extreme weight savings and aerodynamic efficiency allowed it to cruise effortlessly at high speeds while returning incredible fuel economy. The build quality was obsessive. Every panel seam, door latch, and interior fitting was crafted to aviation tolerances, making the cabin remarkably quiet and vibration-free on long-distance continental tours. However, that fanatical level of hand-built craftsmanship carried a staggering price tag. Bristol refused to embrace mass production assembly lines, meaning the 401 could only ever be built in tiny, handcrafted batches for ultra-wealthy connoisseurs. Later Bristol models grew increasingly heavy, boxy, and reliant on massive American V8 engines, completely losing the lightweight aerodynamic purity that made the 401 special. The 401 remains the exact moment Bristol achieved peak automotive perfection. Number 8. Morris Miniminer. When the original Morris Miniminer hit the streets in 1959, it didn't just compete with other economy cars, it permanently broke and rewrote the physical laws of automotive packaging. Designed by Sir Alec Isagonis during the height of the Suez Crisis fuel shortages, the Mini was tasked with carrying 4 full-size adults and their luggage in a vehicle that measured barely 10 feet from bumper to bumper. Isagonis pulled off a geometric miracle. By taking conventional 4-cylinder engine, turning it sideways across the front bay, mounting the gearbox directly in the oil sump underneath, and driving the front wheels, he liberated a staggering 80% of the car's physical footprint strictly for human passengers. Furthermore, by pushing all four wheels out to the extreme physical corners of the body, the Mini possessed a wide, low center of gravity that gave it mind-blowing, go-kart-like handling. It became a global cultural sensation that transcended social classes, driven by everyone from factory workers to rock stars and royalty. But the Mini was such a radical, once-in-a-generation breakthrough that the British Motor Corporation could never truly follow it up. Subsequent attempts to replace the Mini in later decade were either uninspired, bloated, or failed to capture the sheer geometric genius of the 1959 original. It remains a singular, unrepeatable automotive revolution. Number 7. Lotus 7. Colin Chapman, the legendary founder of Lotus, possessed an obsessive engineering mantra: simplify, then add lightness. In 1957, he unleashed the ultimate, unadulterated expression of that philosophy upon the world, the Lotus 7. There were no electric windows, no heavy sound insulation, no luxurious upholstery, and not a single square inch of unnecessary metal. The 7 was essentially an engine, 4 wheels, and a steering wheel held together by an ultra-lightweight tubular space frame chassis wrapped in paper-thin aluminum body panels. Because the entire vehicle weighed less than a grand piano, it didn't need a massive, heavy V8 engine to go fast. A simple, lively 4-cylinder motor gave it a power-to-weight ratio that allowed it to embarrass expensive sports cars away from the stoplights, while its telepathic steering allowed drivers to slice through corners with surgical precision. Chapman even sold the 7 as a knockdown kit car in wooden crates, allowing weekend racing enthusiasts to dodge heavy purchase taxes by assembling the vehicle in their own home garages. As the years wore on, Lotus shifted its corporate focus toward building heavier, more complex, mid-engine luxury supercars like the Esprit. Realizing the 7 was a raw, unrepeatable masterpiece, Lotus eventually sold the manufacturing rights to Caterham. The 1957 7 remains the absolute purest embodiment of Colin Chapman's lightweight genius. Number 6. Aston Martin DB2. The Aston Martin DB2 is a foundational cornerstone of the brand's legendary grand touring reputation. Introduced in 1950, it was the first true production triumph under the leadership of industrialist David Brown. After purchasing both Aston Martin and Lagonda, Brown combined Aston's chassis know-how with Lagonda's secret weapon, an advanced, race-bred 2.6-liter twin-cam straight-six engine designed by W.O. Bentley. The DB2 was an absolute knockout. Wrapped in a tight, sweeping aluminum coupe body with a distinctive 3-part front grille, it looked like $1 million. But more importantly, it possessed the mechanical stamina to back up its drop-dead gorgeous looks. Aston Martin threw the DB2 directly into the brutal crucible of international endurance racing, where it secured impressive class victories at both the 24 Hours of Le Mans and the 24 Hours of Spa. It proved to the world that an Aston Martin wasn't just a plush cruiser for aristocrats, it was a lethal, high-speed endurance weapon. While later models like the DB4 and DB5 gained immortality through Hollywood cinema and James Bond product placement, classic car purists know that the DB2 was a raw, unadulterated engineering breakthrough that put Aston Martin on the global map. It was the original spark that the brand spent the next half-century chasing. Number 5. MGA. Before 1955, Milligram sports cars were notoriously conservative, featuring upright grilles, flat windscreens, and exposed running boards that looked like they belonged in the 1930s. But when the MGA arrived on the scene in 1955, it looked like a spaceship dropped right into the middle of post-war Britain. Inspired by a streamlined Le Mans developmental prototype, the MGA featured sweeping aerodynamic curves, a low-slung seating position, and a wide, planted stance. Underneath the gorgeous sheet metal sat a bulletproof B-Series 4-cylinder engine that delivered punchy, reliable power. The rack and pinion steering was razor-sharp, the chassis was wonderfully balanced, and the open-top driving experience was pure, unfiltered joy. American sports car enthusiasts fell head over heels in love with it. Milligram shipped over 80% of all MGA production across the Atlantic, earning valuable foreign currency for Britain, and establishing Milligram as a premier choice for affordable roadsters. While the subsequent MGB went on to sell in larger total volume over its incredibly long production run, it adopted a boxier, more utilitarian unibody shape that lacked the hand-sculpted, swooping elegance of the original MGA. For collectors worldwide, the MGA remains MG's absolute visual and artistic peak. Number 4. Sunbeam Alpine Mark I. The original 1953 Sunbeam Alpine Mark I was a rare, exquisite breed of sports car. Unlike mass-produced roadsters that tumbled off noisy assembly lines by the thousands, the Mark I Alpine was hand-finished by the master coach builders at Thrupp and Mabley. Every single panel fit was meticulously checked, giving the car a level of fit and finish that rivaled bespoke luxury saloons. It featured a flowing, long-deck body, a removable folding windscreen, and an interior trimmed in high-grade leather. Under the hood sat a heavy-duty 2.3-liter four-cylinder engine tuned to deliver smooth, long-distance touring torque. The car quickly proved its mechanical strength on the grueling rally circuit, winning the prestigious Coupe des Alpes rally multiple times and earning a reputation for unshakable reliability under extreme conditions. It even earned Hollywood immortality when Grace Kelly famously piloted one alongside Cary Grant down the winding roads of the French Riviera in Alfred Hitchcock's To Catch a Thief. When Sunbeam revived the Alpine nameplate later in 1959, they built a much cheaper, mass-produced roadster aimed at a younger, broader audience. While the later series Alpines were commercial successes, they completely lacked the bespoke, handcrafted coachwork and aristocratic prestige of the original 1953 Mark I. It stands as a brief, shining moment of pure luxury in Sunbeam's history. Number 3. Triumph TR2. In the early 1950s, Standard Triumph was facing a bleak financial reality. They desperately needed a high-volume sports car to export to North America, but their early developmental prototypes were universal disasters. Operating on a shoestring budget, management gave their engineering team one final, desperate ultimatum: build a winner using existing corporate parts, or cancel the sports car program forever. The engineers pulled off a miracle with the 1953 Triumph TR2. They grabbed a rugged, heavy-duty 2.0-liter four-cylinder engine originally built for tractors and standard saloons, tuned it with twin carburetors, and dropped it into a simplified, lightweight steel frame. The styling was low-slung purposeful, and cut away at the doors to give drivers a visceral sensation of speed. Because the car weighed so little, that tractor-derived engine rocketed the TR2 past the magic 100-mile-per-hour mark, offering performance that completely embarrassed far more expensive European rivals. It proved virtually unkillable in grueling international endurance rallies, earning a reputation for bulletproof reliability. American buyers bought them in droves. While later TR models, like the TR3, TR4, and TR6, grew more refined, comfortable, and complex, none ever captured the raw, honest, underdog simplicity of the TR2. It was Triumph at its absolute purest. Number 2. Austin Healey 100. Few cars in history have ever captured the spirit of open-top sports car motoring quite like the 1952 Austin Healey 100. Born from a partnership between independent car designer Donald Healey and the manufacturing giant Austin, the car was an immediate sensation when it debuted at the London Motor Show. Its styling was pure magic: a long, sweeping hood, a distinctive shield-shaped grille, and a fold-down windscreen that lay completely flat against the hood to reduce drag for high-speed runs. Power came from a massive 2.7-liter four-cylinder engine that produced a mountain of low-end torque. The car could comfortably sprint past 100 miles per hour straight off the showroom floor, a feat so impressive that Donald Healey officially incorporated the 100 name directly into the badge. It hit the absolute sweet spot of sports car design: lightweight, perfectly balanced handling, simple mechanicals, and breathtaking visual proportions. In later years, Austin Healey replaced the four-cylinder engine with larger, six-cylinder motors to create the famous 3000 series. While the six-cylinder cars were faster in a straight line, they were also significantly heavier, shifting the weight distribution forward and dulling the telepathic steering response. Ask any hardcore Healey purist, and they will tell you that the original lightweight four-cylinder 100 remains the undisputed dynamic peak of the entire Healey bloodline. Number 1. Jaguar XK120. Taking our absolute number 1 spot is a vehicle that didn't just top the British car market, it sent shockwaves through the entire global automotive industry. When Jaguar unveiled the XK120 at the 1948 Earls Court Motor Show, it was only intended to be a small-scale, 200-unit promotional testbed to showcase Jaguar's brand-new XK engine. However, the public reaction was so overwhelming that Jaguar was forced to immediately retool their factory for full mass production. With its impossibly long hood, flowing teardrop fenders, and low-slung cockpit, the XK120 looked like a piece of high-art sculpture. Early production models even featured lightweight, hand-formed aluminum body panels over ashwood framing, making them ultra-rare collector items today. Underneath that breathtaking skin sat Jaguar's crown jewel, the 3.4-liter XK straight-six engine featuring dual overhead camshafts. Pushing out 160 horsepower, it rocketed the car to an incredible 120 miles per hour, officially making the XK120 the fastest production road car on the face of the earth. It shattered world speed records, dominated international road races, and transformed Jaguar overnight from a modest regional brand into a global performance juggernaut. While Jaguar would go on to build a legendary E-Type in the 1960s, the sheer shock value, historical significance, and groundbreaking performance leap of the 1948 to 1954 XK120 represents a singular golden peak in British motoring history that could never truly be repeated. Which one of these legendary British cars would you choose to own today? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through Britain's golden age of motoring, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for the next countdown into automotive history.